All right. Good morning, guys. Quick sound check. Quick sound check. 1, 2. Make sure you guys can hear me. How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. What's up, Will? JW Parker. Beautiful. It's working. It had a nice update this morning, so I was a little concerned. Awesome. All right, let's jump right into it. We had a lot of things kind of moving. It is Friday, November 7th here, so first thing I want to do is take a look at Forex Factory here, see what we got happening for the day in terms of news. And right now what I'm looking for is anything that's in red, and you can see a lot of that stuff came out this morning here at 8:30 Eastern time, and it is currently now 9:08, so none of that stuff is relevant anymore. We've got a little bit of news here coming out at 10 a.m. there, and then 10:30 nat gas numbers. I'm assuming this got pushed back to Friday just because of the markets being closed on Wednesday there, in honor of the late George Bush there. So if you're trading nat gas, pay attention to that. Otherwise, I don't think any of this stuff here really matters. Some FOMC guy speaking at 12. Hopefully by Friday at 12 o'clock we are done for the day and not necessarily needing to worry about what that does. So with that being said, I'm going to jump in, take a look at the levels that I had from yesterday and some of the divergences and things that set up. Here for the S&P is the Nasdaq, and then I think gold is at a pretty interesting level here going forward for the next couple weeks, and I'll talk about that for just a moment. So coming into yesterday, we had a nice gap down situation. Ended up trading lower here, 66.3350s in the Nasdaq. We're about 190 points higher than that at the moment. Let's just call it 200 points here. 66.30s up to 68.30s here. So we've got a really big range. We filled this gap down. We've sold off. If you're looking at the daily chart here, at one point yesterday, we had pretty much erased about a week's worth of price action in just 2 days. We had a big 264 point range day on Tuesday, and then the nice gap down, and ended up yesterday's range being 220 points as well, and not a lot of follow through there from the gap down, about 30 points lower from the open. But either way, at one point we were looking pretty doom and gloom, and this is on the Nasdaq. If you take a look at something like the S&Ps, and you look in comparison to the amount of the move, or how far we actually did move in relation to this previous move, the S&Ps was actually breaking these lows from back here basically Thanksgiving. This keeps highlighting, but yeah, 11:22, 11:23, right there before Thanksgiving. These are all those lows kind of coming in there, and we ended up breaking those lows yesterday here in the S&Ps. In the Russell, you can see we ended up breaking the lows back from late October. So in a way, we kind of have a little bit of a mini divergence on a larger scale, right? So we've got the Russell breaking daily lows here, and the Nasdaq, S&P's not. And then if you take a look at the Dow here, you can see Dow did get down to these levels, didn't break these end of October lows though, and then now getting a nice rally to the upside. So what does all that mean? All that really means for me is that I think we have potentially found a little bit of a short-term bottom here over the next few weeks. So I do think we'll get a little bit of a Christmas rally here, if that is what they like to call that. So that doesn't mean I'm buying right now and we're going straight up. I need to find an entry into that, and obviously a place where if the market doesn't do what I think it should do, then I want to go ahead and get out. So I'm going to blow up the hourly chart here, and we go ahead and maximize this sell for you guys. What I'm going to be watching for here, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these old drawings from yesterday and highlight some new ones. So we had a profit target there yesterday that almost got hit, 68.57.50s here on this rally up, and we got about a point away from that here in the overnight session. High of the overnight session right now for the Nasdaq is 68.56.50. The low sitting at 67.64.50. So we got about a 90-point range there going in the overnight session for the Nasdaq so far. And not looking at that, I'm just looking, kind of right over here. I like to keep this. This is all the available quotes or symbols to trade on Nadex there, and keep the top 4 indices there right at the top, so I can keep them on one of my screens here. So that's what I'm looking at, that information on there. I can share this Nadex watch list with you guys in the chat as well if you guys want it. So with that being said, 68.57.50s here. I'm going to be watching that level today if we can trade up into it. If we can tag it on a first test, then I think we have a potential for a little bit of a pullback there. If we tag it, kind of hang out around this level, then I think we've got an opportunity to go higher. So on the day, I'm not seeing a ton of price action to the upside here. It is Friday, coming off of an interesting week with the markets being closed for a day, and this gap down ended up getting erased. So I do think we need a little bit of time to consolidate this and digest this move here, and we're pretty much going to end up the week right here back kind of in the middle of the range, and that's what I'm going to be mostly looking for, is kind of the sideways day here. So if we do not get that level, we start selling off here. 67.39 is going to be my line in the sand there. So if we crack 67.39s, I'm going to be looking for continuation to the downside. On a first test of 67.39s, I think it's a buying opportunity. So if we open here right at 68.13 current prices and sell off to 67.39s, I think we can pick that up for a quick little scalp back into some morning resistance, and maybe back halfway of the open or something like that. Before that could potentially go lower and hold a piece of that if it does want to crack back above these 68.57.50s. So what that means is that inside of this 68.57.50 to 67.39 zone here, this is going to end up becoming my do not trade zone. So if we end up chopping around, and this is about 120 points or so here, if we end up chopping around inside of this range today, that is an area that I don't necessarily want to trade inside of. What the exception to that rule is if we do get some type of divergence on the day, and we have some type of alignment or congruency, confluence with one of the other indices, meaning either the S&Ps, the Russell, or the Dow, then we can take a position either long or short inside of this zone for today. But at the moment, we're going to be waiting for a break or a touch 68.57.50s to look for one potential short opportunity. If it breaks through, pulls back, that's a buying opportunity. I am anticipating price to close kind of somewhere around this level on the day. So that may present an opportunity in Nadex. But I'll know that a little bit more once we start actually trading and what that looks like on the day. So that's one of two scenarios there. We've got a short off of it, or we've got a long off of it once it breaks. And then to the downside here, we've got 67.39 as a potential buy first thing on first test. And then if that does in fact break, no more longs here, and we can look at selling or rallies back into that level with targets kind of back down in here towards yesterday's lows there. It's about a 100-point target on that trade to the downside. Again, I don't know if we're going to see that today on a Friday. Like I said, I am kind of expecting price to kind of come back up in this area and close somewhere in this range for the day. So That's what I'm watching for there in the Nasdaq. Pretty easy in there. And then taking a look at the S&Ps here. So we had a really solid level come into play yesterday. 26.2950s, 26.44s, 26.59 quarters, 66.50s here. And then we kind of blew through this last target at 26.8675s. And we've traded back down to a low of 2670 this morning, 2670 quarter in the S&Ps here this morning. So none of these levels, in fact, are valid anymore. And for those of you in the pro course or in the boot camp course, you know exactly what this level right here is, 26.8675s, and what this potentially means from a closing basis and where we should go from here. So my thinking on that is, again, obviously paired with kind of the larger time frame daily divergence we have happening there on the Russell, is that we can get some continuation in a rally here. So we got a high on the day of 26.9875s, just shy of yesterday's highs here. These highs are 26.99 quarters there, so 2 ticks beneath yesterday's highs. What I think is going to happen here first thing this morning is we'll get a little bit of a pullback here, currently trading 91.75s, and then from that point I think we'll end up getting the rally kind of back up somewhere in this 2700. The S&P is a little bit weaker than the Nasdaq, so Nasdaq's level right here, it was at the 57s here, and if S&Ps can close somewhere north of 2700s on the week, I think that is going to bode well and be a good sign moving forward for continued prices to the upside, but likely still needs 1 or 2 days of digestion for this move, like I was talking about with the Nasdaq there as well. So given that there's no levels here on the hourly chart over the past 3 hours, except all the way down here into 2650 quarters, what this means is two things. One, 2650 quarters still is a valid level. This is the bearish above, bullish below kind of line in the sand that I'm going to be using here. It is the last pivot that we have in line. So if we, for whatever reason, come down here, check this level on the day, get a small reaction, and then sell off back through that level, that's going to bring in what I think is going to be some decent selling. That gets us a target down at 26.2450. So about a 25-point target on that trade if it does set up. Now, that is the least likely of the scenarios that I see. I don't anticipate us getting a sell-off all the way down to 26.24s here. That's like what, almost 70 points, 60, 67 points or so from where we're currently trading at. I don't think that is going to end up being the case. So what I do think will end up being the case is trying to drill down in here into a 30-minute and potentially even a 15-minute chart and finding a level that we can participate off of in order to catch a move back up into 2700s based on a pullback here in the morning. And really the last pivot that we have here comes in at 26.65 quarters, and that again is about 27 points lower than where we're currently trading at, and I don't see us getting that much of a pullback here first thing in the S&Ps. So overnight lows 26.70 quarters, we're talking about breaking those lows by about 5 points and dropping about 27 points from where we're currently at here at the open. I don't see that being the case. So the play here in the S&Ps for me is to let the S&Ps play out for a little bit this morning and then look for a divergence, and maybe that ends up somewhere around here, 26.84s, 26.86s, who knows, kind of back in alignment with the level we had last night of 86.75s here, somewhere in that range, potentially getting checked, setting up some type of divergence, Nasdaq showing strength, and we can jump into a long side trade here and ride this move back kind of up towards 2700s on the day for the S&Ps. So that trade I don't necessarily have a level on just yet, and I don't know that I will have a level until it sets up a divergence, and that is if it does in fact set up a divergence. So that's what I'm watching for there in the S&Ps and in the Nasdaq. Yesterday was definitely a much better day to trade. We had some pretty decent opportunities there, both to the long and short side. I did try one long attempt yesterday. That ended up stopping out. We had dipped into, kind of the 26.44 level that we were watching by only 2 ticks there. First thing in the morning on the down move, went ahead and picked up some longs here. That was good for about a 15-point reaction off of that level, but ended up not being able to continue before needing to check the 2950s that we had first. And then ultimately, going higher towards the end of the day there, and a really nice surge here. This is about 40 points, almost 50 points actually, right into the end of the day in the S&Ps, which is a big move. So for me, I ended up doing a whole lot of nothing yesterday. I had that one trade in Nadex, and I just could not find the right groove to get an entry into the futures market. So with that, I just went ahead and kind of sat on the sidelines and waited for this to digest. And I don't necessarily trade the afternoons all that often, so was pretty much done with this this action. Ended up coming back and taking a look at it, and there was some opportunities in the Nasdaq to get an entry based on some of the levels we were talking about yesterday, and there were some opportunities here in the S&Ps, but I did not take advantage of that. And what I don't want to have happen, the reason I'm mentioning that, is I don't want to come into today going, okay, I lost, I think it was $114 yesterday, and come into today and go, okay, I need to make, it's Friday, I got to get paid, blah, 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 whatever. Need to make back my loss from yesterday and, kind of pad the week a little bit more. And what I don't want to have happen is me start pressing and pushing trades here that are not there today on a Friday, because that rolls into next week, and then, you can see how the story goes from there. So that's what I'm watching there for the S&Ps and the Nasdaq. Next up, I want to talk about gold here. And really haven't talked about gold in a while, but we're at a pretty important level here, 1248.80s. So we had a nice move right into that level yesterday. First thing yesterday morning there about 9:30, 9:35. And it's no surprise that we got a reaction off of that level from 1248.80s here. So that's sold off about 7 points, give or take here. And now we're kind of rallying back up into this level and trying to push through it. So gold could potentially be setting up for a really nice long here. If we step back and take a look at the hourly chart, you can see this is where that level is being pulled from here. That was that prior swing high that pushed us back down almost into 1200 there, so about a 50-point reaction from that level. And if we do get through kind of 1250s here, where we're currently trading at, then I think we've got a lot of room to the upside to go. I mean, you can see over the past daily chart here, gold has pretty much gone sideways for the most part, for the better of, what is this, 13? So like almost 6 years now. This is June of 13, so 5.5 years now. Basically, we're pretty much at the same point. So every time we kind of get through this level, we're ended up getting a nice 100 to 150 point rally out of that, and I'm going to be looking for potentially the same thing here if gold can get through this level at the moment. I don't know that it's necessarily ready today, and I don't know that it is going to be ready tomorrow, but it is something that I definitely do want to keep on the radar as we keep pressing this level here at 1248.80s. So you guys can see where that level's at there and what I'm going to be doing with that. So it may set up an opportunity here if we're going to get a closing basis above that level today. It may set up an opportunity for a Nadex trade. I do not know just yet. I want to watch this trade after the 9:30 US open there and kind of see what it's going to do. But it is going to close obviously either above or below this level. Kind of an obvious statement there. But one way or the other, I do want to try and take advantage of this with Nadex if it does provide some type of opportunity. So anyways, that's what I've got here for you guys this morning in the morning trade plan. I'm going to be coming back with you guys in the Discord here in just a few minutes. It is 9:27. We've got a couple minutes till the market opens. I'm going to be coming back with you guys in there for the morning power hour and see what we can do here with these markets that we've got shaping up so far this morning. So anyways, guys, appreciate your time. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you liked it. Let me know in the Discord. And I'll see you guys for the morning power hour in just a few minutes. Thank you.